Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I want to thank you for coming to the Cali Truck Stop Theater, and I'm glad that you are watching. Um, this video I have it's a it's gonna be a super short one, and I promise you. This one is just to get the word out there, even though it's already been out there, but just so that you guys, just think about what y'all are doing out there, talking about, well, actually everybody, but mostly you car drivers. Just remember what you're doing out there, and don't get upset with a truck driver who you think was in the wrong. In many cases they're not wrong. For those of you who are not truck drivers, never been a truck driver, and don't really know truck drivers are considered to be professional drivers. Okay? We get the title of professional driver because we go through way more extensive training to drive on these roadways versus somebody who drives a car, for to get to and from work, do errands, and go home and vacations and stuff. For a truck driver, this is our way of life, and we go through extensive training to try and be as safe as possible on the road. And a lot of you people who drive these little small cars, and when I say small cars, I don't care if you got a pickup truck or anything else. If you're smaller than a big rig truck, I'm talking to you. See, when you're driving alongside of a big rig truck, a semi truck, tractor trailer, you need to be aware that these are big mechanical beasts compared to your vehicle. You need to respect these larger vehicles because these larger vehicles are not able to they're not able to stop as well as you can, and they cannot maneuver as well as you can. And they can't go certain places like you can. So you must respect them, and this is whether or not they did you wrong or not. But in many cases, they're not doing you wrong. We're not doing you wrong. It's just that we are doing what we were trained to do, and we're just trying to be as safe as we can to be out here on the road. See, we're out here on the road most of the time, and the road can be very, very dangerous. Okay, with weather conditions, we have to watch out for animals that could cause us to get hurt. We also have to watch out for you guys. Some of you don't pay attention, and you're just doing stuff. Some of you are in a hurry. Some of you are just ignorant, and some of you just don't know what you're doing. And so we got to watch out for you too, because we could run you over. And in many cases, a semi truck will run you over like a tin can. Okay, so you gotta be wise. You gotta think. Think about what you're doing, and don't and if you get mad because you think a truck driver has done something to you, do not, and I repeat, do not retaliate by making some kind of crazy maneuver, or the worst case, jumping in front of them and trying to brake check them. That is a big no-no, because not only, because I'll just say this, you're playing with your life. when you do that. And you're also playing with the truck driver's life and anybody else that's on the road with you. Because if you happen to do a brake check and either that truck is not able to stop in time, or that truck driver freaks out and swerves to avoid hitting you, hitting you can cause a large accident, which can involve more people than just you and that truck. So if you think that you can get, you think that you can put yourself in a position to where you make that truck hit you, so you can get a paycheck or something like that, you better think twice about that, because that could end your life. It could, if it doesn't end your life, it might seriously injure you, and it can cost you a lot of money. Okay, now in some cases, people come out on top of that, even though they were they were at fault at the accident, but because of the way that some of these laws are written, you can bend the rules a little bit, but don't do that. You know, you get certain people. Now I've seen this happen. I've had it happen to me before, where people, you know, cutting me off, trying to brake check me and things like that. And I'm telling you, don't do that, because it can cause more problems than what you think or what you was anticipating. If you're just trying to freak the driver out or make him mad or whatever, you're gonna do that, but you might end up hurting somebody. And you know, it's happened before. I've heard of you know, certain stories and stuff like that. But let me give you a couple of tips. Whenever that you're approaching a truck, a large truck, or a truck is in your vicinity, give that truck as much space as you can. Okay? Don't drive alongside of it. If you can, try to get into a different lane. But if there's no other lanes available and that truck is sitting beside you, then you might want to drop back either behind the truck or speed up and get up in front of the truck. This way you're giving that truck driver some maneuver space in case they have to make a quick maneuver. Sometimes they may have to make a quick maneuver to avoid an accident, or get out of the way of an object or what have you. But give them that respect. Don't sit in their blind spots. Their blind spots are usually right there behind their seat where they're sitting at, and right behind the trailer itself. That's something else too. You get these people that they drive right up close to the back of the truck, and if that driver is not able to see you, your face, you know, the front of your car, if that truck driver is not able to see you in the mirror, or actually, let's say it this way, if you can't see that truck driver's mirror, that truck driver is not going to see you, and he's going to need to see at least the front windshield, so he can see like a face there or something. That way your vehicle is exposed to where he can see and know that you're behind him. But when you run up on that truck and you're like almost bumper to bumper with that truck, depending on the type of vehicle that you have, a truck driver can look in their mirror and they won't see not one piece of your car. So they're not going to know that you're back there behind them. Okay? And if a truck driver is not turning his head and looking out of his side window, he's very well going to probably miss you if you're sitting right there behind his driving seat, or right there behind the passenger seat. It's even worse on the passenger side, because you know he can't see, he or she can't see the road like right there beside them. So give that truck driver some space. You know, don't drive right beside them. And another thing, don't drive next to their tires. Like I said, truck drivers do a lot of road driving. These tires, they rack up a lot of miles, and eventually these tires do go bad, and they do fail on occasion. If a truck driver is not properly looking at their tires, there's a good chance that they may have a tire on their truck or the trailer that the tire's just worn out and is ready to bust any moment. There are other times where there's road hazards on the road itself, and the driver is just not able to avoid it, so they have to run over it. Sometimes this damages the tires, and that could cause a blowout. Okay, these blowouts are very dangerous. Okay, and if you man, I have to find there's this one episode of Mythbusters where they showed they did some tests with a truck tire failing. And if you've never seen Mythbusters, which is it's like a science program, if you've never seen Mythbusters, or if you've never seen the episode with the Mythbusters, testing the failing of a truck tire, you need to look at that. And if I find it, I'll link it to this video. But if a tire blows out, that's very dangerous, because the shrapnel from the tire, it's like flying projectiles. So it can very well damage your vehicle, and if it happens to go through your window, it can if a chunk big enough goes through your window, it can do some serious damage to you if it hits you. So that's another reason why you want to stay clear of these trucks. But yeah, these trucks do need room, so you need to give them room. If you're up in front of the truck, make sure that you're able to give that truck driver some distance up front. Trucks, they need their distance. So if you have to get in front of a truck to cross lanes or what have you, make sure that you have enough room. But if you do so, make sure you go and you cross your lanes. You cross in front of the truck quickly. If you cross into that truck driver's empty space right there, you're actually infringing on his stopping distance there. So if you had to stop because of whatever was going on in front of you, you just clipped that truck driver's effective stopping distance off, drastically. Whatever space that they had in front of them, they might have had enough space to where if something did happen in front of them, they could safely stop. But because you pulled in front of them, cut off their distance, and sat there for a while, and something happened, now when you stop, you're going to get plowed into because you didn't give them enough space. So be careful of that. Give these guys lots of space. Okay. Another thing that I see a lot is that I'll see drivers getting onto the freeway. Now, you're getting onto the freeway. I think that a lot of you have forgotten what the driver manual is telling you about getting onto the freeway. Okay. On the freeway, these cars that are on the freeway are already doing freeway speeds. When you are trying to get on the freeway and you're trying to merge in the traffic, you need to be going at the same speed or faster to get on the freeway, just to get in, to get in the merge. But you need to do this in a safe manner. Okay? So if you're getting on the freeway and there's a vehicle that's pretty much in your pathway as you're trying to get on there, you are going to have to yield to any traffic that's in that slow lane there, so that they can pass, and so that you can get in. Okay, so it's especially important when you're coming up alongside of a truck. If that truck is already on the freeway, they're either trying to pick up speed or they're already at speed on the freeway. And you who is trying to get onto the freeway, you need to either time your merge correctly to where you get on the freeway before the truck gets to the opening of the on-ramp, or you're going to have to calculate your getting onto the freeway after that truck passes. Don't think that that truck is going to stop or get into the other lane because you're trying to get onto the freeway. That is not for the truck driver. I'll tell you from anybody's point of view, that truck driver is already in that lane. The truck driver must stay in that lane if they're in that lane. If they can move over safely, into the next lane, then they can do so. But there's a problem with that, because if they surrender their space in that slow lane to get into the next lane, and if they're not careful about their lane change, they can be at fault for for causing an accident or getting into an accident just because they're trying to let you in. Okay? So if a truck driver is not letting you on the freeway, there's probably a good reason why that they're not letting you do that. Okay? It's not because they're being, jackasses or anything like that. A lot of truck drivers aren't really like that, except that sometimes the motoring public makes them that way, because they're trying to be as safe as possible, and so what they do is they end up they end up hogging the road sometimes. But if we can all just manage to just take turns and be patient and stuff like that, we can accomplish a lot. Okay, so when you're getting on the freeway and the big rig is coming, right on up that way there, chances are don't think that they're gonna give up that lane. Don't think that they're gonna slow down so they can let you on. That's really not what they're supposed to do anyways. Okay, they're supposed to stay at speed. It's you who's getting on the freeway that's supposed to yield to the traffic. Okay, so you need to get in where you fit in, pretty much. So don't get mad if you feel like if they're about to run you over. I've had cars do that and get mad, and they're sitting there running up on the shoulder, thinking that I'm going to slow down for them, and I'm like, no, that's not how this thing works. You need to figure out where you need to get in, and if you're over there driving on the shoulder like a mad person, you better hope that the police are not out there watching, because you're going to get the ticket for driving out there on the shoulder. Also, if that shoulder ends up turning into be non-existent, you're actually going to get crushed between. If there's a guardrail there, you're going to get crushed between the guardrail and the truck. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Now, and I'll give you an example here. I gotten into an incident. When was it? In July, and I think I have a video on that somewhere. But I got into an incident in July, and this was actually I was leaving a shipper, and this was at a warehouse. And so everybody was getting off a shift, and I had a car pretty much cut me off, and they got clipped. So what happened was that I'm leaving the guard shack. Okay, I picked up my load. I'm leaving there. I just left the guard shack, and I'm pulling off. I'm preparing to pull off into another lane. Well, all these factory workers, they're zooming right on past, boom, because I guess it's the end of the day, so everybody's trying to hurry up and get off of work. So this particular area was where it had like two lanes, 3 lanes. I think 2 lanes. We'll say 2 lanes, because it actually the left lane started to merge, or excuse me, the right lane. But as I'm pulling out from the guard shack and I'm starting to get into the right lane, because I need to make a right immediately after the guard shack, I'm looking out the window there, and All these cars are whizzing by, zoom, 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 and actually they really shouldn't be whizzing by, because first of all, this is it is the private property, and there is a certain speed limit, and ain't none of them cars was doing the speed limit. Speed limit is like, parking lot speeds, 10, 15 miles an hour. Well, these cars are not doing no 10 to 15 miles an hour. They're doing more like 20 to 25. They're booking it out of this place. So I found a gap to where I can get in. Now I'm still trying to pick up speed, and I start to get into the right lane. There was no cars there. I start getting into the right lane. My truck is already into the right lane there, but my trailer has yet to follow. Well, there was a car that they didn't want to slow down, so this car decided to get up on my right side and speed up right next to me. And so they went right down the side of my truck there, and right at that point where they thought they was going to be able to squeeze in, the road kind of came in. The embankment kind of came in there. The guardrail and stuff like that came in, so that little shoulder piece was no longer there. So that car zoomed right on up and darted right on up in front of me. Okay, so this happened quickly. They zoomed right up in front of me, and this is why I said that you got to give them space, because trucks cannot stop cannot stop on a dime. So this car came up, and to avoid hitting the guardrail, for this car to avoid hitting the guardrail, they had to cut in front of me, and be on the way. Well, this car did not quite make it, even though they gunned it, and this lady, she cut in front of me. My right bumper caught the rear quarter panel. I can't speak. The quarter panel on onto onto the thing there, on the car. And when she hit, I had to hit the brakes there, because it happened all quickly. But when she did that, it just scraped the bumper, whatever, and scraped the side of her car. But then she ended up rolling over to the far left lane that opened up after the guard shack there, and then she's gonna sit there in the middle of the road like, what just happened? I'm like, lady, you just hit me, So these things happen, okay? But you cars have got to give these truck drivers respect. These truck drivers go through an immense amount of training, way more training than the average car driver does, to be able to be safe on the road. We have to learn how to drive long, wide vehicles. We have to learn how to try to avoid accidents as much as possible. We have to learn how to try and maneuver this vehicle on these roadways so that everybody is safe. So the point is that we want to try to avoid accidents. We want to avoid injury, and most of all, we want to avoid death. We don't want to be out here driving on the road and then we end up getting killed, or we end up killing somebody else. So let's all play a part and be nice to each other. And like Rodney King says, can't we all just get along? But get along. Let's get along. Let's treat each other right. Oh, and in light of everything that I said, there are some truck drivers that are doing and have done the same thing, the very same things that I've talked about these little cars doing. For somebody who's driving one of these large trucks, you got your CDL license, and you're doing the same things that these little cars are doing, shame on you. In my opinion, you shouldn't even be driving one of these trucks. If you're gonna sit there, if you're gonna do stuff like that, and you're driving a large truck, you out of the two groups of people, you out of all the groups of people should know better than to be driving around like these little cars out here, cutting people off, You know, not giving people enough space. You know, trying to, and this too. You're trying to run these little cars off the road. That's unacceptable. You shouldn't be in this career field if you're gonna be feeling like that on the road. Don't do that. Okay? It's one thing to hold your ground and try to and you know you can do offensive driving to try and avoid a situation from happening, but there's a thin line between being offensive or you know offensive driving versus offensive driving. You know, don't be a bully out there. Because you're bigger doesn't mean that you have you know more rights than anybody else. You know, you're bigger, you have more responsibilities. Okay, so and you should know better than anybody else that you getting into an accident or causing somebody to get into an accident that really impacts your CDL career. So that can impact your way of making money. So that's something to consider. And for you smaller cars, that's something for you to understand. Is that most of us are not trying to get into accidents. We're not trying to have any problems because our careers are so regulated. We have so many laws and so many rules and so many things that we have to abide by that you know we can't a lot of times we can't afford getting in any kind of trouble. So we need your help to not allow us we need your help to not get entangled with us. We need you to be just as proactive as not getting into an accident as we try to be, because this is our livelihood out here. And if we get into accidents out here, you know, we could lose our our jobs. So nobody wants to do that. So just be mindful of that, okay? And I'll see you on the next video. All right.